Throughout human history, countless wars have taken place. Many kings, military geniuses, and rulers have always wanted to conquer and spread fear to the whole world. But no one has ever been able to do this. However, there are a few people who have almost reached it. Their presence is seen as fear and chaos. These people have almost conquered the entire continent, or have spread fear and obsession of war throughout the world. These men, who learned to master the chaos of battle and command their fellows to victory, became known as warlords. You will see a surprise at the end of this video. Leonidas. Throughout history, few members of the nobility have directly risked their lives on the battlefield, but being the king of a people with a warrior tradition forced the monarch to personally command the soldiers in battle. Leonidas was the king of Sparta, an ancient Greek city that prided itself on its warrior culture. Known for training the best warriors of the time, the king's name meant son of the lion, and Leonidas was the protagonist of one of the most important battles in Greek history. Together with his valiant Spartan warriors, he participated in the Battle of Thermopylae against the vast Persian army. With Leonidas's tenacity and perseverance, the Spartans and their Greek allies managed to block key strategic points. They defended the pass of Thermopylae, where they fought for 3 days straight and killed about 20,000 Persians. Leonidas knew his death was certain, but he wanted to die in combat. No Spartan could turn his back on the fight, and if they fled, all of Greece would lose the courage to fight the Persians. Spartacus. Born in the region of Thrace, a young warrior who belonged to the auxiliary troops of the Roman army decided to abandon his military post and commit the crime of desertion against Rome. His actions had negative consequences, as he was captured and sent to be sold as a slave of fate. Considered worse than death because of his potential as a warrior, the young man was sold to be used as a gladiator in the Roman arenas, where he came to be called Spartacus. After receiving training at a school for gladiators in the city of Capua, Spartacus excelled in the arenas. His physical strength ensured many victories, but above all, he was an educated and intelligent man. Spartacus participated in a slave rebellion in 73 BC. After fleeing Capua, he attacked Roman villas and other gladiator schools, freeing slaves wherever he went and creating a numerous army. Rome sent many expeditions to contain the army of rebels, but Spartacus always managed to defeat or entrap the Roman troops. He was already considered a serious threat to the stability of the Republic. The rebellion ended in 71 BC, when the Roman commander Marcus Licinius Crassus eliminated Spartacus's forces. Even though he fought bravely, Spartacus eventually died on the battlefield. However, his name is still remembered as a synonym for the fight for freedom. Alexander the Great. Considered by many to be the greatest military leader of all time, Alexander the Great conquered one of the greatest empires in history. Born in the city of Pella, the capital of the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, young Alexander was educated by several highly trained teachers, including the famous philosopher Aristotle. After the assassination of his father, King Philip II, Alexander ascended the throne of Macedonia when he was only 20 years old. After quelling some rebellions in Greece, he began a military campaign against the strong Achaemenid Persian Empire. Alexander participated in epic battles against the Persians and showed enormous conviction in every confrontation. Many claim that he was a man blessed with divine blood, as nothing in the world seemed to be able to stop his advance. Despite commanding one of the best armies in the world, Alexander did not hide behind his soldiers. He always took his chance on the front line of battles. At only 30 years of age, Alexander conquered one of the largest empires ever, stretching from Greece to Egypt and northwestern India. Although short, the life of Alexander is considered by many people to be an example to be followed and proof that a determined person can achieve great things. Attila the Hun. Known as the Scourge of God, Attila was the king of the Huns, a nomadic people inhabiting Central Asia. The Huns established a confederation of tribes with people of different ethnicities, but who shared warrior traditions. In his childhood, Attila was trained as a knight and archer according to the customs of his people. But since he was the son of a tribal chief, he was educated in different arts. People said that, as an adult, Attila could read and write in Latin and Greek. Under Attila's command, the Huns invaded southern Russia and Persia. Then they advanced into the Balkan region, terrorizing the places they passed through. They almost succeeded in sacking the city of Constantinople. Attila and his warriors devastated countless villages and cities, dominating many European territories and subduing the Germanic tribes living there. But the Huns still had to face the great Roman Empire in the west. Around 450 AD, Attila invaded Gaul. 2 years later, he was already plundering Roman villages on Italian soil. The city of Rome was only spared because Emperor Valentinian III managed to arrange a peace treaty with the Huns. The iconic figure of Attila continued to provoke awe and admiration even after his death. Even the Romans described him with both hatred and respect for his great ability as a military leader. Genghis Khan. In a particularly difficult time in human history, when wars, famine, and disease ravaged the world, a new danger emerged in the distant steppes of Mongolia. In the first years of his life, Genghis Khan had to struggle against many adversities. His father had been murdered by poisoning, and his family was expelled from the clan to which they belonged. For many years, Genghis and his family survived the hardships of life on the steppes, including hunger, cold, and wild animals. By the time Genghis came of age, he was already a famous warrior feared throughout Mongolia. He used his notoriety to start a campaign to unify the tribes, peacefully or violently. Like the Huns, the Mongols were nomadic people living in camps, made up of many huts, herds of animals, and experts in the use of horse-mounted archers. Genghis knew that his people's nomadic ability was a considerable advantage against his Chinese enemies. For this reason, he began a wave of attacks against Chinese cities, causing destruction and spreading fear with his fierce warriors. The wealth from the plunder of conquered cities, towns that surrendered to the Mongols, had to pay tribute. After conquering a large part of China, Genghis Khan attacked many Arab and European kingdoms, creating the largest empire in territorial extent in history. Unfortunately, Genghis did not see the height of the Mongol Empire. In 1227, he contracted some disease, possibly the bubonic plague, which at the time was spreading throughout Asia and other regions of the world. The great Khan would eventually die. Saladin. Considered the champion of the Holy War, Saladin was a hero of his people. He was also the protagonist of stories and legends told throughout the Middle East and Europe. His deeds continue to be remembered and admired by Muslim peoples today. Born in a region that is now Iraq, Saladin was a Muslim military chief who became Sultan of Egypt and Syria. He led the Islamic opposition to the European Crusaders. Saladin was a brilliant military leader. He decisively defeated the Crusader army several times, such as the Battle of Hattin in 1187, where the Crusaders were defeated by the Muslims and lost control of the city of Jerusalem. Saladin's personality was complex. On several occasions, he proved himself to be a just and merciful leader, sparing the lives of his enemies and allowing some to return to their families. However, when provoked, he sometimes revealed a cold and cruel side, wiping out hundreds of people without any remorse. There was a rivalry and mutual respect between Saladin and King Richard the Lionheart of England. Both commanded large armies and admired each other's combat tactics. They established an agreement regarding Jerusalem, where the city would remain in Muslim hands, but would be open to Christian pilgrimages. When Saladin died in March 1193, his treasury was opened to pay the funeral costs. But to the great surprise of the administrators, the treasury was virtually empty. Before he died, Saladin donated his wealth to charity. Julius Caesar. Few Roman generals were as ambitious and innovative as the famous Julius Caesar, a man who would forever change Roman history. Julius Caesar was born as a member of the Julia, one of the oldest families in Rome. He received a privileged childhood education, deeply admiring his uncle, the general and politician Gaius Marius. After a troubled youth, Caesar joined the Roman army, where he fought as a soldier in several campaigns. With his intelligence and cunning, he managed to reach higher positions in his military and political career. After assuming command of 4 legions, Caesar began a campaign to conquer Gaul, a region inhabited by several barbarian tribes that fought hard to defend their territories. Caesar even got off his horse to fight on the front lines in some battles, proving that his status as a commander was no justification for not risking his life. After dominating Gaul, Caesar fought a civil war against the great Roman general Pompey. Caesar again emerged as the victor. Even after achieving extraordinary accomplishments in his career, Caesar lost his life. He was the victim of treason planned by members of the Roman Senate, who feared his rapid rise in Rome. However, the surname Caesar came to be used by all future emperors in Rome as a tribute to Caesar's great achievements. Oda Nobunaga. Oda Nobunaga was the son of a respected daimyo from Owari province. Unlike his father, who was a serious and austere man, Nobunaga was known to enjoy the arts and music. In his youth, he was a laughingstock among the members of the court. After the death of his father, Nobunaga faced many challenges to establish himself as the successor of the Oda clan. There were even assassinations among brothers who aspired to reach the position of daimyo. After securing the leadership, Nobunaga began his campaign to conquer Japan. First, he annexed small territories contiguous to Owari province. After a short period, larger and larger battles began to be fought as new feudal lords faced Nobunaga. Nobunaga's army aggressively advanced across Japan, defeating the Asakura, Asai, Iko, Iki, and Takeda clans. This further increased the military and economic power of the Oda clan. The end of Nobunaga came in a rebellion led by Akechi Mitsuhide, one of his main generals. Mitsuhide's betrayal forced Nobunaga to commit suicide by the famous method known as seppuku.